Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment of our program is brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Boy, they have every kind of boat in the world you could want. Pontoon boats, deck boats, fishing boats, just boats for outdoorsmen. They've got them all, and you can see them all on all at one location, under one roof, on one lot. And that's the trick to Madisonville Marine. So many times, if you're wanting, if your wife wants this kind of boat and your kids would like this kind of boat and you want this one, that typically means you're going to go to 3 different types of dealers. Not with Madisonville Marine. That's what you get with their incredible selection and great customer service and great prices. They've been around for 45 years. That doesn't happen by accident. Madisonville Marine, it's true when I say there is no better place to buy a boat. All right, let's welcome in the final member of today's panel. We have longtime sports writer Chuck Cavaleris. Chuck, thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
All right. It's rare for you to be sitting this close to me.
It's a lot of pressure in this Bob Hodge chair.
Yeah. Usually we put the tallest guy down there usually, kind of balances. Since I stand, they put you guys down there. Let's talk about what Chip Patterson of CBSSports.com wrote this week in terms of college football's new hires. Hold off on the graphic, Chris. In terms of the new hires, he wrote, most likely to win early. That was Brian Harsin at Auburn, Gus Malzahn at UCF, which won't work well with Tennessee fans. But he's saying they inherited good situations. All right, makes sense. Longest leash, he gave that to Shane Beamer at South Carolina, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. They're going to get lots of time to get things turned around. As for Tennessee, what did he say about Josh Heupel? Let's take a look. Shortest leash in America. The circumstances of Pruitt's mid-January firing amid an internal investigation into alleged recruiting violations raised all kinds of questions about the many factions in and around Tennessee football. Danny White, being hired away from UCF to be the new athletic director, likely did facilitate an easy vetting process when he hired Heupel for the second time, but I'm not ready to say that relationship is reason enough to think he's got a long leash or plenty of time to get things moving in the right direction. An exodus of transfers has created talent and depth issues that have to be addressed immediately before Tennessee finds itself with a rapidly widening gap between itself and the teams it considers peers. Unlike fellow new arrivals Beamer and Lee, this is not Heupel's first time as head coach. If the early on-field results are more in line with South Carolina and Vanderbilt than, say, Missouri and Kentucky, then it's going to get tense in Knoxville. Gentlemen, he just listed the problems that Heupel has inherited in terms of all the transfers and the NCAA stuff. Heupel has a 6-year contract, which, if the NCAA sanctions come in past a certain line of demarcation, that's bumped to a 7-year contract. He gets another year thrown onto that. And yet he still says the shortest leash, I said Mike Leach in the first segment, now I'm going to say shortest leash all day. The shortest leash of all the coaches hired is this guy. Now, because of the reasons I listed, I think that's ridiculous. But I wouldn't argue with him because it is Tennessee. Yeah. And I know that if he opens with a loss to Bowling Green, people are going to want him fired that week. Do you agree or disagree that he has the shortest leash out there?
I disagree. And I'll tell you what, it should have been toughest rebuild. I mean, nothing against Kansas, but shouldn't you bump Tennessee up
Kansas,
there? I don't know.
Kansas, we have to tell people. You reference something we have to explain to people. Right. He wrote Kansas and Arizona had the longest rebuilds, toughest rebuilds. I would argue that Tennessee, since it has the worst roster, just in terms of sheer numbers, would be there. But go ahead.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I don't think it would be the shortest leash. I mean, if somebody's got, like you said, a 6-year contract. So in all of the departures and what you put together coming off this 3-win season, even though it was all SEC, I think it's the toughest rebuild.
Okay, do you guys agree that it's the shortest leash?
No, I completely disagree. I don't even think it's close. And you've enumerated some of them, the transfer portal, the roster situation, the NCAA pending sanctions. They're going to get at least a 1-year bowl ban, so he's going to have a 7-year deal. The only reason that he could come close to being accurate is if Danny White's not here in 3 years. Because if Danny White's still here, I think he'll do everything he can to fight to keep Heupel. And remember, a lot of these coaching changes at Tennessee have come with new athletic directors or a different person that hired that guy. So I disagree with that. I think he actually has one of the longest leashes of all.
What do you think about his leash or leech, either one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard because you look at all those other places, excluding Auburn probably, expectations get you paid, expectations get you fired. And that's tough at Tennessee, where if you go, 6-6, 7-5, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, they're more willing. Vanderbilt might throw you a parade. South Carolina will give you some time. At Tennessee, even considering all those things, and even considering all the NCAA stuff, the roster issues that he inherited, if it's year 3 and you're sitting there at 6-6, there's going to be a lot of grumbling. And Danny White's going to have to deal with that. His legacy is tied to Josh's in a lot of ways, but the expectations are they're so crushing here that I don't know that I agree that he has the shortest leash, but it's probably not as long as when he's sitting here undefeated that it might feel right now.
The thing that hurts him a little bit on this too is what's happened before, because fans are tired of being told to be patient, which is kind of to your point.
Mm-hmm.
They're tired of hearing that, but that's not the fault of Heupel or White, although the fan base still would be short-tempered on that. But I understand that. But I still think that if White is still here, and I think you would, well, who knows? I shouldn't say
Tennessee.
It is Tennessee.
I mean, that's the thing. I think fans recognize right now that he's inherited a worse situation than any other Tennessee coach, maybe ever.
Yeah.
But you're sitting there in year 3, and if they're still giving up 35 a game, we're never going to have defense. We want to win championships here. This is not the guy. We don't want to get to 8-9 wins. We want to win championships, and it's going to be tough.
There's this group, Chuck, out there that believe that, well, about a coach in year 2. That's the big thing. People throw that out there. They write columns about it now. Year 2, you can tell. Like, no, you can't. There are plenty of issues where guys didn't have a good year 2 and they went on. But because that makes a snappy headline or a hot take, people always say it. Fans hear it, and then it goes, yeah, why are we waiting for year 3? Fire him. Because of that expectation jump, do you think Tennessee fans are going to be more likely to be patient knowing what he inherited, or do you think it's just going to be back to normal as they say? It's year 3, it's year 2. What are we still losing these games? Get rid of him.
Doesn't the patience kind of evaporate once you start playing? That you can talk about being patient. And most Tennessee fans, if you said true or false, you've had 8 losing seasons in regular season since 2007, correct? I mean, you go back and start looking, you've had 1 10-win season since then. So you are who you are.
9 since 2005.
Yeah, you start adding that up, and Tennessee fans have got amnesia or something about what it's been, and it's been this carousel of coaching that keeps setting you back. So, I mean, I hope they are patient, and I think if there's some excitement, if there's some upset somebody, if there's more excitement in the stadium, and the innovation to me, I think, is to quit paying all these buyouts at Tennessee.
That'd be a nice innovation.
Oh, yeah, that would be a great innovation.
Very innovative.
But bring some excitement back, and I think they're going to try that, especially offensively.
I think the biggest thing is the previous coaches, especially Butch and Pruitt, they had a lot of recruiting success that allowed them to, even when they were struggling, even that didn't save them. And if they're sitting there, again, and you're sitting there in year 3 with 6 and 675, and you don't have top 10 recruiting class, wait for these guys. That didn't even save the last guys. If you're sitting there with top 20, 25 classes, it could be a tough sell.
Well, to me, Jones is the perfect example, though. I mean, he beat South Carolina in his first year, kept them. That was a 2-loss South Carolina team, kept them out of the SEC championship game. That should have been the signature win. But nobody counted that.
Right.
They said we didn't beat Georgia, Florida, or Alabama. Those are the signature. We beat a number 11 South Carolina, kept them out. That doesn't count. He goes 9-4, 2 straight years, wins his bowls, gets you in the top 25. Is it the promised land? Absolutely not. Did people accept it at all? No. Wanted him gone as soon as he didn't go for the touchdown against Oklahoma. I know he's a loser. That's the problem. That's this fan base. And I think Auburn's the only one that compares to it. So I don't think he's on the shortest leash. I don't think he should be on the shortest leash. I wouldn't argue with this guy, though. Wouldn't argue with him because I've seen it too many times here.
But at least Butch Jones got 5 years, so there won't be a whole lot on that list to go more than 5 years.
I think an interesting question would have been if after those 9-win seasons, if Butch had said, kind of like what Pruitt said after they went 8-5, this isn't enough. We got to keep. If he had said that instead of, why aren't you people happy?
Yes.
I wonder if that extends his time here.
Bowl championship. No. Butch won 4 bowl championships.
Yeah.
4 bowls.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, when we come back, we also won the championship of life.
Yes, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to take up the time for going to break.
Thank you. When we come back, we're going to talk about. All right, you don't know what's coming back. Neither do I. Come on back.